The Nintendo 64 has one of the most unique and controversial controllers ever. Its revolutionary design is widely considered to have popularized the thumbstick, and whether you love it or hate it, one thing is undeniable: that thumbstick is eventually going to deteriorate and start producing white powder faster than Columbia. While there have been decent third-party N64 controllers available from a variety of companies over the years, oddly enough, there isn't much choice when it comes to good wireless Nintendo 64 controllers. That is, until now. Based on Retrofighters' Brawler64, which many consider to be the best alternative N64 control pad out there, the Brawler64 Wireless Edition aims to deliver the same high-quality experience, but in a wireless controller. Unsurprisingly, it's very similar to the original Brawler64's design. It shares the same button layout and the same excellent analog stick, but there are a couple of differences. The Z or Z triggers are now digital rather than the analog buttons found on the original Brawler. These clicky digital buttons not only feel more authentic, but they might even provide a slight advantage because they let you tap them faster. The octagonal gate for the stick has slightly sharper corners too, although this is a very minor change. The other major difference is that the expansion port is completely missing on the wireless edition, making its overall profile much smaller. Besides these changes though, it's largely the same controller, and if you like the original Brawler, then you should be right at home with this. So what makes the Brawler64's design so good, and how does it compare to an official pad? The Brawler includes all the standard buttons you'd expect to find, but their position is slightly different. The layout of the face buttons has been slightly tweaked to be a bit more ergonomic, allowing you to more easily reach both the A and B buttons. The Z button has been relocated to a more modern position, and there's now 2 of them. Not only is this great for southpaws, but it leverages the muscle memory you most likely have built up over the years using other controllers. In addition to the regular buttons, it also has a turbo function, which is described as being ultra fast. I guess it's pretty fast. I've never really used turbo functions all that much in the past, unless I'm trolling friends in a fighting game. But yeah, this does what it's supposed to, so no complaints here. The biggest change though is the position of the analog stick. It's amazing how this simple change makes such a big difference, and it manages to make the N64 feel more accessible. Now, I wouldn't describe the standard N64 pad as heavy, but this is actually a little bit lighter. It weighs 165 grams, which is about 20 grams less than an OG controller. In the grand scheme of things, it's pretty hard to tell the difference between the two, and I think it's right in the sweet spot of being neither too heavy nor too light. Battery life is quoted at 10 hours. This is kind of hard to test though, because the controller will turn itself off after about 5 minutes of inactivity to save power. I've sunk about 10 hours into it so far and it's still going strong, so make of that what you will. Charging is done through the supplied USB cable, and it takes roughly a couple of hours to fully charge from flat. The wireless edition uses the 2.4 GHz frequency, and its range is quoted at 30 feet. This is again kind of hard to test, but I'd agree with that number given that there are a few places in my house where it loses connection. I can't imagine a scenario where you'd need more than this amount of range, and for 99.9% of people, 30 feet is plenty. Pairing it with the dongle is very straightforward, and once it's paired it stays connected, so you don't need to pair it every time you want to play. According to Retrofighters, you can have multiple dongles connected at the same time without interference issues. I couldn't test this myself as I only have the one controller, but if you plan on getting a couple then this shouldn't be a problem. The dongle connects to the controller port just like a wired controller. It receives power from the N64 and therefore doesn't need any additional batteries. The dongle is where the expansion port has been relocated to, and it works with both first-party memory packs as well as most third-party ones. Now, it doesn't work with transfer packs. I believe this is a limitation due to it being wireless, but don't quote me on that. You also can't add a rumble pack for obvious reasons. Now, all of these features sound great, but what's it like to use? The analog stick in its new location are easily the best feature of the Brawler64. It feels smooth and precise to operate, and although it may take a little while to get used to, particularly if you've been using a traditional pad up until this point, I'd argue that it provides an advantage over a standard controller. The fluidity of the stick makes performing things like the Drift and Mario Kart so much easier, and it makes games like StarCraft actually playable. It didn't allow me to instantly clock Cradle on 00 Agent, so you might just want to keep your expectations in check, but without question, it's an improvement over Nintendo's official offering. The shape of the controller is really comfortable too. The overall size is smaller compared to the original pad, however, the distance between the two handholds is wider when compared to how you have to hold an official controller to use the analog stick. Reaching the D-pad is easy too, and I have pretty small hands. It's worth mentioning that the octagonal gate isn't an exact match for the real thing. I don't know if this has any real-world implications such as restricting movement, but it's something to keep in mind if you're interested in things like speedruns or competitive play. Now, with all wireless pads, input delay is something that you have to take into consideration. The Wireless Edition uses 2.4 GHz, which if you ask me is the right choice. 2.4 GHz has kind of become the gold standard due to its range and low latency, and while Bluetooth often plays nicely with lots of different devices, it can be quite laggy. Like most other 2.4 GHz controllers, it probably has something like 1 to 2 frames of input delay, which is almost impossible to feel during gameplay. I don't have any way of testing exactly how much latency it has, but it's definitely low enough not to be noticeable. I'm only going by feel though, so again, if you're a speedrunner or a tournament player, I can't say if this is up to that standard. For general play though, it definitely feels responsive enough. I have really only one complaint with the Brawler64 Wireless Edition, and that's that the packaging just doesn't do it justice. It just looks a bit cheap, and for such a beautifully designed controller, it would have been nice if the box it came in was equally well designed. Obviously this is a minor issue and it has no impact on how the controller works, but I'd love to see something a bit more modern in the future. The Brawler Wireless Edition retails for 65 Australian or 40 American bucks. It is a little expensive for a retro controller, and if you want more than one, the cost does really start to add up. That being said, this is a premium product, and if wireless isn't super important to you, you can always get the wired version, which is almost identical. It comes with a dongle and a USB-C charger, and at release was available in 4 different colours including the standard grey. The transparent colours are very limited though, so they may no longer be available by the time you see this. So can I recommend the Brawler64 Wireless Edition? In a word, hell yes. While it doesn't have any new features over the wired version, apart from being wireless of course, it didn't really need to. All it had to do was provide the same stellar experience in a wireless format, and Retrofighters have delivered just that. It's well built, it's comfortable, its performance is impressive, and the subtle improvements over the original Brawler 64 make it a must-own for anyone looking for a wireless N64 controller. If you're looking for a wireless controller for the Nintendo 64, then this is an easy recommendation. If you enjoyed this review, a like is always appreciated, and of course, a dislike will let me know that I need to improve. If you're new around here, hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified when new videos go live, and if you want to support the channel, head on over to the Patreon page. Otherwise, thanks for your time.